So I'd like to welcome our guest today. She is an amazing and beautiful woman, Stacy Santiago, and she is living the right ordered life. And she helps women get out of some ruts and to go against the grain of the world, to just become your greater self, to live greater. So she is perfect for helping us to live greater and to get out of our daily ruts and helping us to move forward in life and to basically be aligned with our real purpose in life. So welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, Shelley. It's so nice to be here.
So you tell us a little bit about you?
So I live in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I have a husband and 3 boys, and moving into the right ordered life was quite the journey for me. I used to be chasing business and work and living pretty disordered, and God has brought me on quite the deepening faith journey now at this place where I live a very peaceful life because of this attention to the order and the balance of faith, family, and purpose. And having that kind of a life where I have that peace and that joy, and honestly, I wouldn't change anything. Knowing how to create that with that combination of faith and psychology, I love taking a stand for women, and I'm going to show them how to have that too.
That's awesome. That's so beautiful. There is so much chaos in the world, and sometimes it's hard to step away and figure out how we can simplify or have that calmness in our life. So what is a first step, or what is some false beliefs that people might have to even getting out of that rut of getting out of the chaos?
Yeah, well, the first step is awareness, because you're not going to change anything that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't sat down and really journaled this or asked yourself these questions, then what you're doing is living your life thinking that your thoughts are the only reality and that all your thoughts are true, and they just aren't.
Yeah.
So the false beliefs that I commonly see with women are, and I'm going to say it in second person because often that's how we say it to ourselves in our brain, is it says, you're not a good mom. You're failing at everything. You're nothing great. Who do you think you are? God doesn't really love you. Loves everybody else, but not you. You don't deserve it. You're going to fail. Those are some common beliefs. And so it manifests as negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got these false or limiting beliefs, and you've also got influences from the enemy in there too, giving you negative things that draw you away from God, and you're battling messages of the world. So there's a lot in your head that just simply isn't true, and that certainly doesn't serve you. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfectly. And I think a lot of that is the adversary trying to put those negative ideas in your mind and take you away from God, like you said. And I love the part you said about journaling and the importance of in journaling. So if someone was to journal, do you have some ideas or prompts that would help them to know even where to start in journaling those thoughts?
Yes, great. So there's lots of questions you can ask, but I would start with questions like this. What do I believe about myself?
Mm-hmm.
What thought do I hear the loudest in my head each day? What comes up for me when I think about God's love for me? How do I see myself? How do I see the value of my life? What is my value? Those are questions to go through, and many of them are going to be triggering for you, because we're touching things like worth and your enoughness and being deserving of love. And so things are going to come up, but you need to pay attention to those. And again, it's not, you got to give yourself a safe space for it, because it's not that those things are true or that they're permanent. You'll always think and feel that way, but you can't change what you're not aware of.
Yeah, I love that. And I think like it is going to be difficult in some situations and some questions that are going to prompt you to really dig deep into yourself and into your soul. And I think be honest with yourself, not just be totally open. And for me, prayer is important. And to start with that prayer to help you open up. How often do you think people should journal?
It depends what you want to use it for. There
Okay.
are lots of reasons. So the three things that I will use journaling for is, one is processing, because as the days go on, more and more clutter gets in your head and there are emotions that you're feeling. But because you're so busy with the tasks of life, you're not processing, you're not making sense of those, you're not expressing them. And if you're not doing that, you can't untangle them. They just mount and mount in your head. So that's processing. And then another piece that I use it for is the reframe. Because when you start to have these negative emotions, you're like, ooh, okay, so what am I thinking about? And that's where you know, okay, there's something I need to reframe, find another meaning for. And we can go through that process too in a minute and talk about what that actually is when we get to shifting beliefs. But I might need to reframe something that isn't true for me, but that I got sucked into being worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And then also recalibrating. That's what I call recalibrating, when I sit down and I look at my goals or my desires, because those update, they evolve. It can be different, 1 month to the next, or even a couple of weeks to the next week. So recalibrating, checking in on, oh wait, where am I along progress on my goals, whether those are spiritual or for your family, whatever they might be. And how am I, where am I in my desires? What am I desiring? So those are the three things: recalibrating, processing, and reframing, that I will use journaling for.
That's awesome. And I think you hit a point where it's not just one part of your life, but it could be used for all parts of your life. And how, so can you go into that reframing and what that looks like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where people make mistakes with the false or limiting beliefs is that they think that they're true, that whatever's in their head must be the reality. And that's not true. And you are not your thoughts. And you do always have an option to think a different thought, which means you get to choose a different meaning. And that's so critical, because sometimes we make a meaning that doesn't allow us to forgive ourselves or someone else, for example. So how do we do this reframe? Let's take a common one that says, you're failing at everything. You're failing in all areas of life. Okay, so what we do is we say, is that the absolute only truth? Well, no. Okay, so then we ask ourselves, what else could be true? And then you start writing, what else could be true? Well, you know what? I am actually doing pretty good with helping my kids with their challenges in school. Or, you know what? It's actually going pretty well at work right now. Or, you know what? We're actually doing really well in our budget and what we're trying to save. Or, you know what's going well is planning our trip for the summer. So you're looking for other things that could show that you're actually making progress, meeting goals, doing something well. Even if it's incremental or it's a micro example, it still counts, so that you can see there is another truth.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yes. And I think that is so important, to see the positive, even how small it might be, to look back and see the good that you're doing. And that will help you build, and you can just little by little increase and change that mindset of, okay, I'm not doing that bad. I'm doing this part right. Okay, I just maybe need to work on this part a little bit more, or change my way of thinking for this. I think that is so important, especially as mothers, because you're inundated with all different directions all day long sometimes. And to really take that time for yourself to understand you are good, and how you can just kick out the bad thoughts and reframe, like you're saying, and increase the good in your life and what you see as what you're doing as well.
Yeah, yeah. And there's different ways, different perspectives you can look at this. You can ask yourself the question too. You say, okay, you're failing at everything. According to whom?
Right.
Did the Lord appear to you and say, you are a failure in everything? You are rejected. Did your husband tell you you are a total failure? Is somebody telling you that? In most cases, for most of us, nobody's actually told us that.
Yeah.
It's something that we are stacking as evidence in our heads. We're allowing the enemy to layer on examples, but it's just not true. And that perspective shift can help you free up space to say, oh, well, maybe that's not true. I can choose another meaning. I can choose to think about something else that's going to move me forward in the direction, not just of results, but just I'm going to feel differently because I'm choosing to think about it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that as we continue to do that, it will help us become a better person. And then we won't have to dwell on that so much, or where God sees the good in us. He knows our weaknesses, and we can make those weaknesses strengths using him. And I love this, the journaling, and really honing in on what is keeping you down and how can you move forward and not have those negative thoughts take over in your mind, and push them aside and see the good more and progress. So how would someone go about, so if they're working on this journaling and how do they keep it steady? I guess, is that just continuing to journal all the time and checking back? How do they keep moving forward with this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first step is testing out what kind of journaling you like to do and when you like to do it.
Okay.
Because some people have an aversion to the thought of journaling. Say, well, I don't like it. It takes too much time, or that's not really my thing. And they're missing out because it's such a helpful tool. So it's breaking down that resistance by trying different forms of writing. Do I like to write do I like to have lots of space, a lot of time blocked off for it? Is it better first thing in the morning? Is it better at night? Play with it first. Don't just say, I don't like all journaling. No journaling works for me. You have to find what feels good for you.
Yeah.
And then it's making it really easy for your brain with a consistent prompt. So, for example, I have a client right now who does like to write, but consistency had been a struggle for her. She'd pick it up one day and then 4 days would go by, or a week before she picked it up again. And so we broke it down to something very simple. Each night before bed, because she's a pretty good night energy person. So before bed, she would ask herself, what's coming up for me right now? And whatever came up for her, could be a thought, could be an emotion that she's recognizing. That's what she would write about. It was that simple.
Yeah.
And it would just be maybe 5 minutes until she let something out. No pressure to solve anything in that moment, just noticing what's coming up for me. And then write for a few minutes and stop when you feel like you've got it out at that point for the night.
I love that. Just start with a simple prompt. And
Yep.
you're not solving any huge problem right now. You're just getting the words flowing and getting it going.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. So what is it that you shared that you had a client? So what do you help your clients with?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I help my clients be able to create and live this right ordered life. And so what that means is I've got women who feel trapped and tired doing all the things of life. It's chaos, there's fear, and they just want peace. They want to feel hopeful and to dream again. They want to have balance in their life, to feel like they're doing God's will and that they are enough. There's so much clogging that flow. They just can't get there. And it feels like a failure, a darkness, nothing's going right. And they don't see a way to get to that peace and hope. And so that's what I walk them through. And we thread God through every piece of this. We do talk about very concrete things too, like how to get your time back. That's a big one. I don't have enough time. So let's work through that. Well, I'm tired all the time. Okay, let's talk about how to get your energy back. We talk about relationships and restoring those, how to do self-care without feeling guilty. We need to work through that piece too. And so we go through these pieces of life that we know: time, energy, self-care, relationships, time with God that we know are core features. And we're going to untangle the limiting beliefs, the false beliefs, and we're going to actually build tools that make getting your time back, having more energy, more peace, sustainable. You actually have tangible tools to use each day in your life as part of a routine, and also as a way in the moment to handle negative emotion and the challenges of life that come up. So ultimately, you are in this place of peace and joy, and you feel like you're really in this place where God has imagined you would be all along. It's what He wants for you. And you feel that connection. You feel that meaningfulness in your life and what you're doing with your time. And you just feel like you're on the right track.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff. That's so powerful. I mean, just there's so many aspects of our life that we don't even realize are being clogged or just being stunted from growth. And I love all that you can help people with, and just to dig down and, with the journal prompts and time. I mean, time is a huge issue for moms and how to figure out, and the energy. And I love that you touch on those issues. And can you share a simple way that that looks like, that you walk through? So you do journaling and you help them. And how would someone, for example, with energy, how would that be with journaling and doing the other things? How would you be able to help them and guide them in that way?
Yeah. So you may have heard this before, is that the majority of successful changes in life and creating what we want is actually through mindset, through what you're thinking and what your beliefs are. And the smaller portion of that is action. And that's where so many of us get stuck, is because, oh, I need more time. Well, I better go to my time management tools, and I better figure out how I can have my 8 calendars synced, and that fixes my problem. No, it actually doesn't, because what's causing so much of your anxiety and unrest around time is your belief about it. And it's the approach. And if you can fix that, as well as the tools you're using to make decisions and to manage your time, well, now you've got that combination, right? And then we just add that third piece into it too, is, well, okay, what does God want, and how is He a part of this, right? Because we bring Him into everything.
Yeah.
You've got to look at both of those. So it doesn't matter if it's time, if it's energy, if it's relationship, self-care. We have to untangle what you're thinking, your beliefs are around it, and then get to the action. Because we as humans, we only take action based on what we believe. And if you don't fix that, then you're building a house of cards on sand. And we don't do that.
Yeah, right.
So that's what we're doing. And so it really starts with those beliefs about, for example, self-care. So many of us don't do it because we feel that we make a meaning that it's selfish, that it takes away from our family, that we don't deserve to spend that time or money on ourselves, that the tasks that we're doing have to be done and they're more important. If you continue to believe that, and I say, cool, let's build what I call a green zone menu. And this way you have a menu of things to pick off, and you know how to choose what self-care you're threading in your life on a regular weekly basis. Let's just go into that and build it for you and schedule it. Is that person going to follow through? No, of course not, because the old beliefs are still there. So we're working on those beliefs so that you can get to a point where you actually do feel good about self-care. You actually do want to make time. You don't feel like it's taking away from your family, but it's actually enhancing your family life. It's actually enhancing the love and the output that you are giving to the world. Wow. Okay. When you change that, now we're scheduling stuff. Now we're following through. Now it's not a problem. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. And I love how you said God's part of everything, right? And he knows, and He'll be able to help us through it all, the highs and the lows. So I love that. And how we can, I think it just is commitment. There's a lot of commitment that you need to have, that desire to want to change too, and to change that mindset and want to become a better person and get out of that rut. And I think like a guide like you is important, a coach to help you. Like you said, you just give them the tools, you're not going to succeed because you're just going to have that same mindset. And getting over that and journaling and doing all these things to help you reframe yourself and how you're thinking and know how to, I don't want to say attack, but fight off, I guess, those negative feelings, and be able to have that power needs to come from that mindset and where your heart is. And I love all that you've sharing. So can you tell people where they can find you? I know that you have a quiz that they can take also. So can you tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I've got lots of things. So if you go to my website, stacysantiago.com, I have a quiz right there in the top image on the website, and that quiz will help you find out the real reason why you are not taking care of yourself. Why are you not making yourself a priority? So that's a free quiz there. And also on the top right of my website there's a link where we can set up a call to talk, and I can listen to understand what's really going on. And I love offering that to women because it's so rare to have a safe space where you're not judged and you're actually heard, and you don't have to worry that you're weird or there's something wrong with you. And so I want women to have that safe space so we can figure out what's not working and what can actually happen. So there's a call to talk to me there. And then I also have the Right Ordered Life podcast. And so there's lots of topics that I talk about there that relate to the things that we deal with every day that have to do with time and energy and relationships and all sorts of things.
Yes, I've listened to some of your episodes. You do have a beautiful podcast. You share some great gems to learn and to take and implement into your life. So thank you for sharing all that. And I like what you said, there's just people need a safe space because there is a lot of comparison. We, like you were saying earlier, we're the ones that put it on ourselves most of the time, and how the comparison is hard to get out of sometimes. And so I think the journaling and using these tools and the mindset, the change in the mindset will help that. So you're not comparing, you have love for yourself and confidence in yourself to be who you really should be and who you are deep down. So I love that.
Yeah, and I haven't worked with anyone yet who, and I've been doing this for 14 years, I haven't worked with anyone yet who hasn't needed some type of deep healing.
Yeah.
Because we all carry burdens and wounds. We all carry messages that we never had a choice whether they were true or not. They were downloaded to us from childhood, from traumas, from what was modeled to us in our environment. And we carry those. So many of us believe we are not enough. We are not lovable. We are not competent. We are not of value. I have clients who are successful surgeons, and they believe that they still have to prove themselves, that they are not enough. And it's just because we carry these things, and it's not your fault.
Right.
And that I want people to know that healing is available to you. You don't have to live a life that is painful and that is suffering every day. Yes, we do have to carry our crosses in this life. That Christ has made that very clear. But there's a difference between redemptive suffering and suffering basically because you have these wounds and you just don't know how to heal, and you're making it worse on yourself. You don't have to live that way. There is a better way. There's a way to be free.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, Stacy. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners before we close?
Even if you don't believe that you deserve to be happy, you deserve love, you deserve a better life, you do. And to do this work, you don't have to even fully believe it. You just have to take a first step. You just have to say, you know what? I feel the Holy Spirit moving me. I feel like there's something more for me. There's something that I need to heal or at least explore. And it's time, because I don't want to have regrets. I want to be the best version of me. I want to be everything that God has visioned me to be. If you feel even the slightest tug to that, then reach out. Take that first little step. It's safe and it's okay. And there is help. And I just invite you to take that because you do deserve it.
Yes, I agree 100% with Stacy. And thank you so much. This has been so amazing to have you share all these beautiful things that we can help us to heal and become more comfortable with ourselves and become our better selves. So thank you so much for joining us today, Stacy.
Yes, you're absolutely welcome. Shelley, thank you so much, and much love to you and your listeners.
Thank you. And we will have all her links in the show notes as well. So you can check them out there and connect with Stacy.